Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday of December that feels like spring. We're so glad that you're here. And is there anyone here for the very first time today? I thought so, a new face. Well, welcome. And maybe you're joining us online for the first time. Either way, just know that Unity Center of Des Moines is a diverse community that is committed to living a positive spiritual path. And we welcome you just as you are and recognize that each person is on their own unique spiritual journey. If you didn't notice when you came in, we have some little welcome packets that say Unity. You're free to take one of those. We also, care of Michael, Marilee, and Mia, have some little Christmas ornaments. So if you are in attendance today and either want to put one on your tree or have someone you'd like to give one to, they have a little love note on the back, and they're just super cute. So they're out there. I thought that was a great, fun idea. Thank you so much, Michael, Marilee, and Mia, for putting that together this morning. We begin with song. We're going to be doing some songs out of the hymnal. If you like the hymnal, there are bookshelves in the back that you can grab one. Otherwise, the lyrics are going to be up on screen. The first hymn is Came Upon Midnight Clear. It's number 272.
And I invite everyone to sing loud.
And still their heavenly music flows all the way beyond. Oh, it's sad and lonely place, remember glory wings. And over its echo sounds, the blessed angels sing. Oh, the days are racing on, my prophet was foretold. When with the elders serving his, comes down the angel roll. And we shall over all the earth, his ancient splendor sway. And our horse and back the song, which now the angels sing.
Yay! We're doing some traditional carols, which we're going to do more traditional carols on December 17th at 6:30 p.m. That's when we're going to have the Candlelight Christmas Music and Meditation event. So again, that's Tuesday, December 17th at 6:30 p.m. And my mic seems kind of loud.
That's good.
Okay, it does? Okay. Maybe I'm just sensitive about it. All right. Further announcements. If you have not filled out a survey, there was a link to a digital form in the email blast that went out Tuesday. There are also hard copies on that little table in the back. If you could just grab one, fill it out quick, we'd really appreciate it. The hard copies can get turned in on the office door. There's a little folder that says surveys. If you could just drop them in there, and if you need guidance to that, either ask me or just ask around. Someone in the community room, they'll know where that's at. So we really appreciate your feedback because we are co-creating this community, and we're so glad that you are here and participating. Deja is rocking and rolling. She's actually downstairs right now with 3 little kiddos, and we had a new renter, Macy Lamarck, She used to go by Macy Minor, if some of you might know her. But she and her husband have started a community circle the first Friday of the month. And there were some families that came because we had childcare. So we've invited them to come on Sundays. Starting in January, we should have that regular youth program going. Very excited about that. And we could use some games and other materials. We've got some, but if you happen to have something at home that you think might contribute to the youth area, reach out to Deja, and she's planning and bringing all that together. She's also put together an Amazon wish list, just because that's easy. You don't have to buy it on Amazon, but you can get an idea of what kinds of things she would like to put in that room for the kids. It's very exciting what she's doing. So super stoked about that.
How do you get that Amazon list?
How do you get that Amazon list? Well, that is a great question that I don't have the answer to at this exact second. Marilee.
Can I volunteer that anybody that needs help connecting with any of that stuff or what Deja needs to, so you can see my face right now?
Marilee,
Yes.
Marilee, you're a legend around here. You came in here, and I imagine the wrecking ball came in, and Marilee has got the info. She can help direct you.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes.
And can I say something else?
Yes.
You said traditional Christmas song or whatever, however you phrase that.
Yes.
And now that I know that God and Jesus loves me, doesn't hate me, they all mean something different. So
Yay! That's what we do at Unity. Okay, thank you for sharing that. And that totally goes in with our theme with Michael's love-hate relationship with the Bible. So, yay, that's what we do here. Wonderful.
Can you repeat that?
What Marilee said?
Yes.
Oh, Marilee just shared that the traditional hymns now have a uplifting, good meaning to her, because through conversations in her spiritual journey here at Unity, she now understands that God and Jesus love her. So they're not shaming or condemning her, they love her and they're on her side, and I got goosebumps everywhere. So yes, then it's very positive. Yes, Sue. You know what? Here, we're just having we're going with the flow here.
I just love all the different views we have here at Unity, and that's why I'm here, and I respect everyone. But I just want to say a big thank you. Although there's been evil associated in the past, I want to say a big thank you to France for restoring the cathedral and having a lot of people there from around the world last night. It was live streamed, and I just thought it was a wonderful thing of France. Thank you. All right, thank you.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what happened.
We'll get back on track here. I got a little excited. Events. So next Sunday, it's the full moon again. So that means at 5:15, next Sunday, December 15th, there is going to be kirtan, and that goes from 5:15 to 6. And then at 6:30 p.m. is the full moon gong meditation. And those details are on our Unity website, unitydesmoines.com. They also went out in the email blast, and they're also on Facebook. If you follow Sounds for the Soul by Deb Jennings, you can see all of those details. So I already mentioned Tuesday after that, December 17th, is our candlelight service. All of our other events, they're also on the Unity calendar at unitydesmoines.com. Check that out. If you are not getting our email, please get your email address to me, because it helps stay informed of stuff coming up. I think we're ready for the statement of faith, which will be up on the screen. There is only one power active in my life and in the universe, the divine source of all life and love. Next is the Unity affirmation, and as we say this together, if we could really allow ourselves to feel the oneness. Unity of Des Moines is a radiating center of the divine light, mighty to attract its good and to radiate good to others. And with the spirit of oneness, these are the people needing our prayers this week. I invite you to uncross your legs and your hands and imagine or step into the power you have as a channel of love and light from Source. And imagine that energy surrounding each of these people. Amanda, Bradley, Greg, Brittany, Amy, JR, Eric, Kelly, Jess, Paul and Phyllis, Christina, Seal, and people with struggles we know nothing about.
And go ahead and sink into the chair that you are in for our meditation today. Let it fully sink through. Today is the second Sunday of Advent, and the theme for today's service is peace. So I invite you to go within into your hearts and connect with the source of peace that is within you. As you bring your awareness to your breath, breathe in peace. And as you release the breath out through the mouth, let anything unlike peace go. And continue to breathe in peace and let anything unlike peace go as you breathe out. Many times in the world, outside of us and around us, it may feel like there's a storm going on. You can always turn within and connect with that source of deep inner peace by bringing your awareness to your breath and staying in the present moment. Let that peace radiate out from your heart to every cell of your body. Let it flow to the energy field around you. And just stay centered right there. We call it being in the eye of the storm, where everything is still. So follow the sounds of the chime into the silence, and we'll rest in peace in the silence. And as you gently return your awareness back to your body and back to your breath, moment by moment today, you can choose to be at peace. And I invite you to do that today and let it radiate from your heart. We can't expect to see peace in our outer world if we don't have it within. So let it be peaceful within you, and then let that flow out to share with all that you encounter today. Another nice deep breath of peace in, and cleansing and releasing as you breathe out.
with that theme of peace. This is the reading for Sunday, December 28th, from the Advent reading from the Unity Worldwide. For this second week of Advent, I reached into my cabinet for a lovely blue glass bowl, about 6 inches deep, that reminds me of a summer pond. After filling it halfway, I gently place a pink candle shaped like a lotus blossom into the water. The candle wobbles for a few seconds and then floats calmly. It delights me to bring the flame of a match to the wick of that candle, adding light and reminding me of sacred stillness. Nothing else needs to be added. The simplicity of bowl, water, and candle feels perfect. To me, the trio represents serenity, calm, and most of all, peace. As I watch the flame dance and gently stretch its light, I feel centered. Any worries or concerns I may have been carrying are soothed and released. Sometimes troubles in this world around us and our awareness of things we don't want might make peace feel hard to find. John 14:27 tells us, "Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid." But is that easier said than done? Spiritual practices such as prayer and meditation can guide us back to our center and help us float above our troubles, if only for a while. As we consciously shift our thinking to a more positive outlook, we help ourselves find peace and demonstrate that sense of peacefulness as we walk in the world. In your prayer time, visualize the expansion of peace. What would more peace look like, feel like? Hold the people you know and don't know in peace. Hold your country and the world in peace. Empower yourself into knowing that you do have the God-given gift to radiate peace, to respond with peace, to encourage peace. The light of peace that is you floats beautifully like a candle in the water. Consider starting your day by centering and connecting to peace by affirming, "Today, I live in peace. Faith, joy, and love create a reservoir of peace. I radiate peace from my mind, words, and my conscious presence in the world. I am the calm that holds the light." This is the affirmation that goes with this reading. I'll say it once, and then if we can all say it together, it's this. I give thanks that I am a radiating center of peace. I give thanks that I am a radiating center of peace. All right, thank you, everyone. It is now time for another song. This is going to be hymn number 278, which is "I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day." And as Susan said, it's so much better when we all sing together. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, merry go bells, and while they sing the words repeat of peace on earth from will to end. I thought as this day, and of the memories of our Christmas, love my home. Song of peace on earth to end. You make me sing on its way, we go from night to day, a voice, a chime, a chance of life. It is now my pleasure to welcome our speaker, Michael Kolbeck, who will be speaking on his love-hate relationship with the Bible. And you can read more about Michael on our website or the email blast, but please give him a round of applause as he comes to the stage.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
You know, you guys are lucky today because you get to see me like I normally wear a flannel, but this is my dress flannel.
Wow.
Kind of stepped it up today. I thought it was appropriate. All right. Give me 1 second here.
Say it's easier to move that.
You know how I like to move around,
Yes.
right? Okay. I'm good. I'll be back. I'll be back here. We'll be good. All right. Did I turn this off? We good?
You're good.
There we go. All right. So yeah, I'm going to talk today about my love-hate relationship with the Bible. And it actually started off with a love relationship, right? So I was raised fundamental Christian, raised in the Church of Christ, did all the things. And even to the point where in my teenage years, I was like, oh, you know, if I'm supposed to be everybody's perfect Jesus out there, then like, let's just take this to the next degree, right? So I created a Christian band, was in a Christian metal band and all that kind of fun stuff for a while. Went on to Bible college, but as I had more and more experiences in life, kind of like in the real world, things just didn't seem to kind of go as planned. I was made all these promises, and every time I asked anybody in the church about anything, it was like, well, have you prayed about it? Okay, yeah, but I'm not really hearing anything, so some actual help would be great. But time went on, and as time went on, I had more experiences where, well, this isn't turning out the way I thought everything was supposed to turn out. It told me it was going to be this certain way, and it's not. So what's going on there? And I began to distance myself from it. It wasn't a real conscious decision to kind of put it down. It was more of an angry, like mad, I won't use certain words up here, you know, but you get the gist. And that's the way it all started. So that kind of perpetuated itself, and we jump forward now, we jump back from where we are to about the fall of 2016. And it was a night just like any other night. My kids were home, my wife was home, I was at home. It was a night filled with drama. I had 3 girls. I don't think they were causing any drama that night, but with 3 girls and a wife and all the things and me not making real good decisions in life, there was just a lot of drama going on. So there was another night filled with that, and I had kind of reached a point where I finally had enough. And I was tired of not being heard. I was tired of not being seen. I was tired of like always feeling like I was at fault and being told that I was at fault. And it's interesting because this was a message that seemed to ring true from my youngest of years. I mean, that was the way that I viewed God. Like, well, I'm sorry I have to punish you for this, you know, but you're just this worthless sinner. So that whole thing and the simple fact, the way I had been taught about Jesus and his death on the cross was, you know, well, he came to be the sacrifice for you. And, you know, in a kid's mind, you're like, what? Like, so you at least the message I got from it was, oh, I was the cause of that? But, like, what did I do? I'm not even quite sure what I did, but it must have been something pretty bad for this to have happened. So, although all of that had been laid out to me in unconditional love terms, all I could see really was conditions. Like, well, you'll get this and you get to go to heaven and everything, but that's only if you do this and this and this. And then you better keep on the straight and narrow path as well, because if you don't, you're never 100% sure about what's really going to happen. So that was the fine line I was always trying to walk. And I had the view that most people, I think, have, in some regards, this big jealous God sitting up there just watching you all the time. Goes, oh, yeah, you messed up. Did you see that? Okay, I'm going to mark that over here in my tally board, right? That's the view I had of him. So I wasn't able to really live, just the way. I didn't really even know what it meant to just live as Michael. And in all of that, I turned my sights to the one thing that had told me that all my life that I was to blame, that I was somehow at fault. The Bible, right? For that is where my view of God had been formed. Now, I tried to do everything this book had said, but it seemed like things weren't just working out. At this time in the fall of 2016, I hadn't gone to church in over like a decade, and it was actually kind of nice. I was just spending Sunday mornings with my family, getting up, making pancakes and whatever else. I didn't think that was bad or anything. But it seemed to be that at this point in life, somehow I was back in everything that I thought I had escaped from. Like by not going to church, I thought, oh, good, I'm done with that. And that doesn't have any impact over my life anymore. But the simple thing is, somehow it kept showing up. Somehow I kept getting these same results, which were results I didn't want. And I'd had enough. So on this fateful night in fall of 2016, I was going to solve this problem once and for all. And on this night, I went through the house. I grabbed up all the books I had. We still had all the books from Bible college and all that good stuff. So I grabbed every Bible I could find in the house, all my Bible college books, all my commentaries, all that stuff. And I was going to have a massive bonfire in the backyard. So I'd never done a book burning before, but I was like, well, it's on now. So I go in, I go out, I'm putting the stuff in the fire pit in the backyard, and inside I'm just like, oh, this feels good, man. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it right. So I went into the garage and got a big, 2-gallon container of gasoline as well, because we were going to make this fire really burn. So my kids were all in the house. They were doing their things. My wife was upstairs. She was watching TV. And I was out in the yard, just this internal energy just building because I couldn't wait for this moment, right? It was justice. It was like vindication that I wanted, and it was going to happen tonight with this fire. So I started the fire, and I patiently waited for it to get going, and it gets going a little bit. And so I take the gas can, and I'm like, oh, just a little bit on there. Now, I know you're not supposed to mix gas with fire, but that's kind of what we do, right? Especially as guys. So we need a little bit more. So after the fire got going a little bit, I put a little dab more on there, and I was like standing back, very impressed, going like, now we're getting somewhere, right? But I wanted a huge fire. I wanted like a message that went up to the sky, that went up to the powers that be, that was kind of like, do you see me? Like what I'm doing right here? It was almost like a challenge, like, are you going to strike me down now because I'm burning this holy book or something? And I was kind of in the mindset of, if you are, bring it on, because I want to see you for once. So as I did that, poured a little bit more fire, or poured a little bit more gasoline on, a little bit more, I stood back and I thought, man, this is great. All right, everything's going good, but let's give it one more dab. Let's just give it one more thing, one more drink. And as I held the gasoline can there over the fire with the stream coming out, I held it a little bit too long. And all of a sudden, that fire went right up that stream. And now I have a 2-gallon torch in my hand, right? There was that moment where I was like, oh, crap. It was like everything stood still for just a minute. And, then after that, my mind went into panic, like, oh my gosh, I got to get rid of this thing, And so the thing that was nearest to me, I didn't want to throw it toward the house or the garage or anything else like that. I was like, oh, sandbox. Sandbox is good, So I tossed it over into the sandbox. And the sandbox would have been absolutely perfect, except for the fact that it had been dry during that time. And the neighbors' blueberry bushes had grown up over our 6-foot wooden privacy fence and down into our yard, and they were all vines were out, streamed out into the sandbox. Since the kids were a little older, I didn't go out there as often as I used to and maintain that part or anything, so I tossed it in there, and immediately some of the vines and stuff like that started catching on fire, and I was like, uh-oh. So I run inside. I put the hose away for the winter, so the hose wasn't available. So I run inside to the kitchen. I'm standing there like, trying to fill up a glass of water, you know. Didn't have a fire extinguisher in the house or anything. I'm filling that up. I'm hollering upstairs at my wife, can you come down here? Can you help me? You know? So she comes sauntering down and she's like, getting a drink. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, look in the backyard. So she looks out there and she's like, looks at me. And I said, can you help me? I'm going to have to call the fire department if I can't get this thing under control, you know? And she says, well, you have fun with that. I'm not going to answer any questions when they get here. And she turned around and went back upstairs. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know why this surprised me. I mean, this was her behavior with everything. So I guess I was so surprised because I'm like actually legitimately asking for help in the middle of a crisis where there's an actual fire right outside of the backyard. And I get the same response. And I was in my head, I was thinking, are you serious? You gotta be kidding me. So I take the water out. Now, it hadn't clicked in my mind yet that, you know, you shouldn't pour water on fire. But thankfully, by the time I got outside with the water, that little bit been able to come into my brain, and I was like, oh yeah, that's not going to be a good idea. So let's go over here by the privacy fence. I'll just pour it along the vines between the privacy fence and the sandbox, right? And everything will be great. That'll help prevent the fire, hopefully, from spreading a little bit, and I can figure out what to do. So I did that. Then I went into the garage, I got a shovel, I come out, I'm like, I'll just suffocate it. You know, it's in a sandbox, I'll just use the sand. But like I said, since my kids were older, I hadn't filled that sandbox up for a few years because they hadn't played in it anymore. So there wasn't as much sand as there used to be in that thing. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm trying to dig the shovel down into the sand and get some up. And with each, you know, little toss of sand, I learned really, really quick that, ooh, this is delicate work right here. Because every time I would take a pile of the sand with the shovel and put it down on where the fire was burning, a poof of air would come out,
Right.
which would push the fumes.
Right.
The fumes would burn.
Right.
More fire would start.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, this is not good. This is just not good. So I kept working with the shovel, kept working with that, trying to be as light and gentle as I could to try to keep everything contained. About the time I'd get one contained, two more would pop up. And I'm thinking, all right, this is ridiculous because all I could think was if this makes it up the vines to the privacy fence, that's an old wooden privacy fence, that's going to go up like that. And then we have all these branches that are hanging down from these huge trees in the backyard that are close enough to the privacy fence, so they're going to catch on fire potentially. Privacy fence also runs around this way and attaches to the house, this way attaches to the garage, and I'm just like in my head, I'm like, yeah, this is not good. I'm going to call the fire department. So I call them just on the off chance I couldn't get it under control. Fire department shows up. Couple of people. It was a man and a woman, I remember. A couple stayed in the truck, but a man and a woman got out. They walk up towards me, and they kind of laughed. They said, what do we got going on here tonight? I laughed. I said, well, it's just a 45-year-old man making a bonfire with some really bad judgments is all. They laughed at that. They took a look around. They looked at what I was doing. They looked at different things. They said, you're good as long as you keep doing what you're doing. Just stay out here. You're probably going to have to stay out here for a few hours just to make sure it doesn't pop back up or whatever. But yeah, what you're doing is fine. There's not anything extra that we can really do. They weren't concerned about it, so that kind of gave me a little bit more peace of mind. And off they went. So at this point, the fire in the backyard had mostly gone out, but the fire inside of me it was still burning alive, right? And I was even more irritated and more angry now because all I had was these partially charred books. Only the edges of the pages were really burned. That was it. Nothing had gone as planned. I felt like I had totally been robbed of my revenge against God and my great vindication. This climax that I wanted was just nothing. Nothing happened. So I ended up being this 45-year-old man just going, well, all right, I guess I'll just take these and put them in the trash over here. So I picked the partially charred books up, put them in the trash can, put them in the trash. It was not nearly as satisfying. And I went back inside, and I was more down than I was before because somehow it was like, how do I get revenge on this? I was in that mindset where it was like, how do I free myself from it? And after all this stuff that went on that night, I still felt like I was trapped in it. Ironically, even though those books didn't burn, I was officially done with God, religion, and the Bible. It was that night, it took me that action and that experience to reach a point where I was like, I'm done. I'm done looking to these books, to this God, to whatever, like I've been told. I'm just completely done. And the fact is, I needed that. I needed to reach that point. Every other time I had been kind of done with God, it was more of a like, I'm going to push you a little farther this way. I'm going to push you a little farther this way, and a little more. But this time it was just like, nope, you're done. You're completely cut off. And I needed that actually to get to the next place in my life. Because once I had got rid of that, I was like, kind of had that moment of like, well, I wonder what I do now. Because if this book held all the answers, and I'm refusing to look at this book anymore, I'm refusing to pray anymore or have anything to do with this God up there, I was kind of like, well, And the interesting thing is, I had this notion, and ironically, this notion came from my wife at the time. She's been kind of saying this for years, where she would say at different times, why are you so dependent upon those books? Why are you so dependent upon the Bible or upon God or whatever? Don't you know that the answers are all within? Now, those of you that have heard me speak before have probably heard me speak a little bit about, me and this particular ex. It was what I needed, let's put it that way. That was exactly the experience that I needed. But one of the gifts that came from that relationship, a very highly dysfunctional relationship, one of the gifts that came from that was this notion of, what if you didn't look there? What if you looked within? That was a place that I was always fearful to go, because if you looked within, that was equated with, well, you're looking at yourself, and self is bad and sinful. And only the devil kind of lives there. Mm-hmm. So that was a place that was always a no-go zone for me. But you weren't supposed to question things like, what does Michael want? That type of thing. That wasn't really even in my frame of reference at the time. Once the Bible was out of the picture, God was out of the picture completely, then I was in a space where I was like, okay, but now what? Then I heard these words, that my wife had spoke off and on over the years, don't you realize everything is within you? And I always used to be like, I don't even know what she was saying when she was saying it most of the time. Like, I hear it, but it didn't connect. Well, now it computed all of a sudden. I was like, well, I don't know where else to look. This is what she's been saying off and on for a while. Maybe I'll look there. And that was really the opening that kind of changed everything. Over the years, I think that marriage didn't last much long after that. That last year or so of the marriage was highly climactic, highly dysfunctional to the nth degree. So it wasn't long after this whole book burning night where I exited the marriage, was on my own, and really started like what I would call my healing journey. This journey back to self that I call it. And as I began doing that, as I began working with that, as I began diving into things, I began looking at my belief system. I began looking at the rules and all the shoulds and all the obligations and supposed tos that had driven my life for so long. And it's like a lot of it traced back to religion, a lot of it traced back to these things I had learned. And so even on the beginning of my healing journey, I wouldn't have anything to do with the Bible. Didn't want to pick it up, didn't want anything. I had sat it down and I had intended that there wasn't anything there. And yet there was a part of me that knew that there is a deeper truth there. So there was a part of me that wouldn't let it go. And as I heard and opened myself to different people, different speakers, different whatever, they would be talking about verses that I knew, that I had heard thousands of times, verses that I had studied, but they were like relaying the information from these verses in a different way, from a different perspective. And I was like, oh, now that
makes sense.
I can get that. And I started getting curious, like, well, maybe I'll pick up my Bible again, you know? Problem is, I didn't have any Bibles. Yeah, they were all gone. So, you know, I figured, I'll go to Salvation Army. And I'll go down to Salvation Army. I didn't know at the time. I just went in going, I'm sure they'll have Bibles. They have other books there and stuff. I'm looking through the Bibles, and I'm like, this is probably in the last 3 years or so. I'm looking through the Bible section. I'm like, why aren't there any price tags on these things, you know? So I take one up. I'm like, I'll get this one depending on how much it is. I take it up to the cashier. And I said, yeah, I'd like to get this, but I don't know how much it is. And she says, oh, they're free. And she said, I'm like, what? She says, yeah. She says, we allow a person can come in here and get one free Bible. You know? So we don't ever charge for Bibles. I was like, oh, that's fantastic, you know? So I got this Bible, went home, kind of started looking at it, started dabbling in it here and there. And things started to change. Because of the inner work that I had already been doing on my own, now when I looked at these scriptures, when I looked at some of these verses, I was still getting triggered by doing it. But at the same time, I could also see new things that I hadn't seen before. So it was very much I'm not just going to jump right back into it. It was like, okay, let's look at this verse. And then I might read something that triggered an old thing, and I'd have to set it down for a week and be like, I can't even look at that for a week because the old stuff is still processing. As I changed, my love-hate relationship with the Bible changed. So I went from loving it originally in my life up and through my 20s and everything, and this was the answer to everything, to completely distancing myself from it, to now coming back in slowly and going, I know in my deepest part of being, there's something here. And so I started wading back into those waters little by little. The truth is, the fact that I had a love-hate relationship with the Bible, it was simply a reflection of the relationship that I had with myself. It was a disconnected, incongruent, inauthentic relationship. It was really a relationship that was built on a lot of illusion and a lot of story. It wasn't real and it wasn't genuine. It was only a relationship originally in my younger years that was built on rules. If I'm a good boy and do what God says, then I'll be blessed. Unfortunately, the experiences of my life were like, well, I'm trying to be a good boy, but nothing's turning out like a blessing over here. Some people would say, you know, if I tell this story, some people would say, like, you actually burned the Bible? Are you crazy? And I know there's some people that would be, they would have a real problem with that. To me, I still look at it as it's just a book, right? It's no different than when you go to a regular church and they're like, well, this is God's house. And I'm like, yeah, really? Is it? It's just a building, right? I mean, according to the New Testament, you are the temple. Your body's the temple. The night of the bonfire was what I needed. Through this experience and many others, I begin to see that everything begins with me. For my relationship to anyone or anything is a reflection or extension of the relationship I have with myself. That's it. It's the old saying, wherever you go, well, there you are. It's okay to be where you are in relationship with self. It's okay to be where you are in your relationship with God or the divine. I'm like everybody else here. For years, and even recently, I couldn't hear the term God without being triggered. I'd get angry feeling inside because the old depiction of God would pop up in my head, right? This just judgmental, punishing deity of sorts would pop up. If I went back to churches, and they're teaching the same way, the same type of things I've been taught. It was like everything I could do to sit in my chair and not stand up and be like, you are wrong, you're so wrong. Can you please give me the microphone? You know? But I didn't do that. That would be absolutely disrespectful. It would be disregarding the path where those people are at. But what I've learned is to allow everybody where they are on their path. I needed all of those experiences in order to be where I am today. I needed that highly dysfunctional relationship with this so that I can now have a healthy relationship with the divine and with the Bible. This is a Bible here. This is the Children's Living Bible. Has tape around the spine of it, holding it together. And it says, if you open it up on the inside, it says, these pages are really old. Where is that? There it is. So this says, presented to Mike. Mike was what I went by when I was younger. It was either Mike or Mikey. Presented to Mike by Mom and Dad on Christmas 1978.
Wow.
So I was like 8 years old at the time. Now, ironically, somehow this did not end up in the bonfire. I'm not quite sure how that happened, because I'm pretty sure if that thing had been in my house at the time, I was in such an emotional state, I probably would have just overlooked the sentimentality of it and been like, nope, you're gone too. You know, I want to be done with this. So what I suspect is that somehow this had been in my parents' house. And over the last number of years here, this has showed up again. I'm like, oh, isn't that curious? So I love the fact that I still have that. And then a few weeks back, I was actually had determined I'm going to speak on this today. I'm going to speak on the love-hate relationship with the Bible. And ironically, right after I had written that down at home, I was out visiting my parents, and I hadn't mentioned anything to them about any of this stuff. And get done conversing with my parents for the evening, and when I get up to leave, my mom says, oh, do you have another minute? We've got something for you. And I was like, yeah, sure. So she hands me a box, and she says, well, you know, we just know that you're doing some speaking again and different things like that. And so she said, your dad and I got you this. And so it's a leather-bound Bible, and it has Michael D. Kolbeck on the front, which is, I go by Michael now, you know. And then on the inside, it's very interesting. It has the exact same thing as the old one did. It has one of those presented pages. And it says to Michael, by Mom and Dad on September 1st of 2024.
Wow.
So
Aww.
that's when she bought the book. I didn't know that she had bought that at the time. Then I decided to do this speech. Then I was out at her house about 3 weeks ago, and she hands me this, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, I can use this as I give my talk, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been a long journey. And part of what we talk about here, part of what's been mentioned by other people, is you need to be willing to give yourself the allowance to be where you are, but also challenge yourself or encourage yourself to reframe whatever experience that is.
Yeah.
That's what most of healing is in any capacity. It's a reframing, and once you reframe, then you can reclaim,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So not only did I have to do it with the Bibles here and my view of God and everything, it's the same thing you do in relationships. There's been very important relationships that I've been in my life where things have then gone south. And there may be places, and I've had to go back and revisit those places because it's like, I want to be able to go to this place without being triggered all the time. It's the same type of thing. When I go into a regular church now, I'm aware there might be something that comes up that gets triggered, but it's okay. I'll just use everything I know to go, all right, I see you, I feel you, we're good, we're okay. We can reframe and we can reclaim what is needed. So I'll just leave you with this today. Be with yourself on the path wherever you are.
Yes. Amen.
And allow others to be where they are. It's not your job to change anything or rescue them from anything. They are in the place where they are because that is part of the path that they need to be on at the moment. It doesn't mean you don't help people, but you really can't help anybody until they have a desire for something to change. They want something different. With every relationship you have, ask the questions. What aspects of you do you see in this other person or this other thing? And what aspects of you is the other reflecting back to you? Relationships will change. It's the natural ebb and flow of life, like the waves of the ocean. Meet yourself where you are in the moment of now with grace. For the hand of the divine is always guiding you. If you simply take a moment to go within and listen to that still small voice and make the changes from within to the outside, external world of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that heartfelt share. Wow. If you would like to share your resources with Unity of Des Moines to make it possible for this building to be supported, to have a place to come for this truly deep inner healing, now is your opportunity to do so. If you're joining us online or you're like me and don't carry cash, we can accept donations via Venmo at Unity-Des Moines. There's also a little QR code that's going to be in the basket, and there's a QR code at the back right underneath the clock. So if you scan that in, don't worry about the phone number part. You can also go to our website at unitydesmoines.com, and there's a donate button there. So whatever works for you, whatever you can and are able to contribute, we are deeply grateful. And we want to offer the following affirmation. I am infinitely abundant. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I thankfully acknowledge the divine source.
you with the puzzle.
No, we don't. Some of us did not grow up with Christmas, so there are some assumptions that, oh, we all know the songs, and other people don't. So we want to dedicate this offering to do the work of spirit and truth to the people of Unity of Des Moines, and we are grateful. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Zeke, for collecting. Now it is time to turn it over to Deb. She's going to lead us in the universal greeting of peace from the Gandhi Foundation. It's sometimes helpful for people to stand up and follow along with the hand motions, or if you're joining us at home, let this soak in. I offer you peace.
I offer you peace.
I offer you love.
I offer you love.
I offer you friendship.
I offer you friendship.
I see your
I
beauty.
see your beauty.
I hear your needs.
I hear your needs.
I feel your feelings.
I feel your feelings.
My wisdom flows from the higher source,
My wisdom flows to the higher source,
and I salute that source in you.
and I salute that source in you.
Let us work together for unity and love.
Let us work together for unity and love.
And for those that didn't know those two carols, the first one was I Saw Three Ships Come Sailing on Christmas Morning. And the second one is Good King Wenceslas, which many people don't know that there's about 9 verses to it. But what is this story of is by blessing others, you get blessed yourself. And so that's why I chose those today.
Thank you, Deb, for your beautiful playing. All right, well, that concludes our celebration service for today. I'd like to invite everyone to create a great big circle around the room. We usually join hands. If you don't want to hold hands, that is okay. You can put your hands over your heart. But it's so nice when we can all make a big circle and sing the closing song together. Afterwards, there is snacks in the Unity or in the community center on the side, and I need help getting these first 2 rows lined up against the wall. So let's sing our song. The light of the divine surrounds us, the love of the divine enfolds us, the power of the divine protects us, the presence of the divine watches over us. Wherever we are, the divine is, and all is well.
Thank you, everyone. And I forgot to thank our sound booth people, Ann and Laura, thank you so much. Thank you to the mics for working the entire service. And maybe we continue that Laura saying, yes, just need the first 2 rows against the wall and enjoy the snacks. Hope to see you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, you moved. She was trying. I saw her.
I'm sure it's like that. Sure.